Don't get me wrong. I loved the idea of marriage, the dress, the flowers, the attention. It was always supposed to be about me, but he was the right kind of man at the right time. The man everyone thought was perfect for me. Maybe that's why I said yes. For convenience, for status, for exhaustion. Richard Pemberton III, Yale graduate, trust fund, family name that opened doors in Manhattan. The kind of man my mother dreamed I'd marry since I was 12. Safe, predictable, boring. He proposed at the plaza during Sunday brunch, ring hidden in the mimosa, photographer conveniently positioned 3 tables away. My Instagram story practically wrote itself. 300 likes in the first hour. But days before the ceremony, he appeared. The other one. My most delicious mistake. Jake Morrison, motorcycle, tattoos hidden under expensive shirts. The kind of man who could make me forget my own name with just a look. Wrong type, wrong time, and still, impossible to forget. We met at a gallery opening 6 months before the engagement. He was there with some artist friend. I was there because Richard thought it would look good for his political aspirations. "You look bored," he said, appearing beside me with 2 glasses of champagne. "I am bored," I replied, taking the glass. "This art is pretentious garbage." He laughed. Actually laughed. When was the last time Richard had laughed at anything I said? "Want to get out of here?" he asked. I should have said no, should have found Richard, should have gone home to my perfectly planned life. Instead, I said yes. 3 hours later, I was pressed against the wall of his downtown loft, my designer dress bunched around my waist, my engagement ring catching the streetlight streaming through his window. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, a moment of rebellion before settling into my predetermined life. But Jake had other plans. He texted me the next morning, and the next, and the next. Coffee dates became lunch meetings became afternoon escapes became, well, you can imagine. For 3 months, I lived 2 lives, the perfect fiancée planning her dream wedding, and the woman who would sneak away to a downtown loft whenever she could. Richard never suspected, too busy with his campaign for city council to notice his future wife's wandering attention. My mother never suspected, too busy planning the social event of the season to notice her daughter's wandering heart. But Jake knew exactly what he was doing. 2 weeks before the wedding, he cornered me after another stolen afternoon. "You're really going to marry him?" he asked, lighting a cigarette by the window. I was fixing my lipstick in his bathroom mirror, trying to erase the evidence of what we'd just done. "Of course I'm going to marry him," I said, not meeting his eyes. "The invitations are already sent." "That's not what I asked." I turned to face him. He was leaning against the doorframe, all casual confidence and dangerous charm. "Yes, Jake. I'm going to marry Richard Pemberton III. I'm going to wear the dress, cut the cake, throw the bouquet, and then I'm going to live happily ever after in our Upper East Side apartment." He smiled. That slow, knowing smile that had gotten me into trouble in the first place. Sounds boring. It's called stability. It's called settling. I pushed past him, grabbing my purse from his nightstand. "Some of us can't live in fantasy land forever, Jake. Some of us have responsibilities, expectations." He caught my wrist as I reached the door. "What if I told you I loved you?" The words hung in the air between us. Dangerous, tempting, impossible. I'd say you're 3 months too late. But as I walked away, I could feel him watching me, could feel the weight of those words following me home. I should have ended it there, should have blocked his number, should have focused on my wedding, my future, my perfectly planned life. Instead, I found myself texting him at 2 in the morning. Saturday, 4 p.m. Street, Patrick's Cathedral. Wear a suit. His response came immediately. "Are you inviting me to your wedding?" I stared at the phone for a long time before typing back. "You said you loved me. Prove it." The morning of my wedding, I woke up with butterflies in my stomach. Not the good kind. The kind that told me I was about to do something that would change everything. Richard was already at the country club getting ready with his groomsmen, following tradition, keeping separate until the ceremony. If only he knew how separate we'd been for months. I spent the morning in the bridal suite at the plaza, surrounded by my mother, my sister, and 4 bridesmaids. Hair, makeup, nails, photographs. You look absolutely radiant, darling, my mother said, adjusting my veil for the 100th time. Radiant. Right. I looked like a beautiful lie wrapped in $15,000 of silk and lace. My phone buzzed, a text from Jake. I'm here, back row, left side, trying to blend in with the Republicans. I laughed despite myself. One of my bridesmaids looked over. What's so funny? Sarah asked. Just nervous laughter, I said, slipping the phone into my bouquet. Another text. You look incredible, even from here. He was watching me, in my moment, in my dress, in my lie. And God help me, I liked it. The ceremony was a blur of traditions and vows I barely meant. Richard's voice saying my name, my voice saying his. Rings exchanged, kisses shared. But through it all, I could feel Jake's eyes on me, could feel the weight of his presence in the back of the cathedral. When the priest said, "You may kiss the bride," Richard lifted my veil and kissed me gently, appropriately, safely. The congregation erupted in applause. My mother dabbed her eyes. My father beamed with pride. And Jake? Jake was gone. I found him outside, leaning against his motorcycle, still in his suit, but with the tie loosened. Cigarette in hand, waiting. Congratulations, Mrs. Pemberton, he said as I approached. Don't... What? It's your name now, isn't it? I looked back at the cathedral. The receiving line was forming, photographs to be taken, hands to be shaken, smiles to be maintained. I have to go. Do you? Jake. One dance. At the reception. That's all I'm asking. You're not coming to the reception. He smiled. Aren't I? The reception was at the Metropolitan Club. 500 guests, 10-course meal, orchestra, everything my mother had dreamed of. I sat at the head table, Richard's hand in mine, smiling at toast after toast. His best man, my father, his parents, mine, all talking about love, about commitment, about the perfect couple we made. I nodded, smiled, played my part, but I was scanning the room, looking for him. He was there, table 37, far from the family, close to the exit, nursing a whiskey and watching me with those dangerous eyes. You seem distracted, Richard whispered during his father's speech about family legacy. Just overwhelmed, I whispered back. It's been a long day. He squeezed my hand. Soon we'll be alone, just the 2 of us. The thought should have excited me, should have made me feel like the luckiest woman in the world. Instead, it made me feel trapped. After dinner, the dancing began. Richard and I had our first dance to At Last by Etta James, his mother's choice, traditional, safe, predictable. He spun me, dipped me, whispered sweet nothings in my ear. The guests watched, applauded, took pictures, but all I could think about was Jake, sitting in the shadows, waiting. When the song ended, Richard was pulled away by his business partners. Something about a deal that couldn't wait until after the honeymoon. I excused myself. Needed air, needed space, needed... Looking for me? I turned. Jake was standing in the doorway to the terrace, champagne glass in hand. You shouldn't be here. But I am. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, close enough that I could see the desire in his eyes. One dance, he said, extending his hand. I looked back at the reception. Richard was deep in conversation with potential investors. My mother was holding court with the other mothers. No one was watching. One dance, I agreed. He led me to the empty terrace. No music, no witnesses, just us and the city lights. He pulled me close, closer than Richard had, closer than was appropriate for a married woman. You're beautiful, he whispered against my ear. I'm married. Are you? His hand slid down my back. My breath caught. Jake, tell me you don't feel this. Tell me you don't want this. I should have pushed him away, should have gone back to my husband, should have been the woman everyone thought I was. Instead, I kissed him, right there on the terrace of my wedding reception, in my wedding dress, with my new husband 30 feet away. It was desperate, hungry, everything my marriage would never be. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. "The powder room," I whispered. "Third floor. Give me 5 minutes." I didn't wait for his answer, didn't think about consequences, didn't care about anything except the way he made me feel. 5 minutes later, I was locked in the powder room, touching up my lipstick with shaking hands. A soft knock. I opened the door. Jake slipped inside. "We can't." "We are." He pressed me against the marble counter, his hands tangled in my hair, my dress, my lies. "Tell me to stop," he whispered. I looked at myself in the mirror. Wedding dress, wedding makeup, wedding ring. Don't stop. What happened next? Well, let's just say my dress needed significant readjustment afterward. 30 minutes. That's how long we were gone. 30 minutes of pure, selfish desire while my wedding reception continued downstairs. When I returned, my mother-in-law looked at me strangely. "You look flushed, dear. Are you feeling all right?" "Just warm," I said, accepting a glass of champagne from a passing waiter. It's been a long day. Richard appeared at my side. "There you are, I was looking everywhere for you." "Just needed to freshen up," I said, not meeting his eyes. "You look different." My heart stopped. "Different how?" He smiled. "Happy, relaxed, like you're finally enjoying your own wedding." If only he knew why. "Where's your bouquet?" he asked. I looked down. My hands were empty. I must have left it upstairs. But I knew exactly where it was, scattered across the powder room floor, along with the last of my innocence. The rest of the evening passed in a haze of congratulations and well wishes, cake cutting, bouquet toss, last dances. Through it all, I was acutely aware of Jake's presence, his eyes on me, his knowing smile, the secret we shared. When it was time for Richard and me to leave for our honeymoon suite, I caught Jake's eye one last time. He raised his glass in a silent toast. To what? I couldn't say. To the bride? To the lie? To the best 30 minutes of my life? All I knew was that I was leaving my wedding reception as a married woman. But I was also leaving it as Jake's. 2 months later, Richard still calls me his wife. He kisses my forehead when he leaves for work, brings me flowers every Friday, tells me he loves me at least 3 times a day. And Jake still texts me, still calls me, still shows up, sometimes. Richard doesn't know, but he feels it, in the way I touch him, in the way I don't touch him, in the absence of the love he swears exists between us. "You've been different since the wedding," he said last week over dinner at our favorite restaurant. "Different how?" "Distant, like you're somewhere else." I was somewhere else. I was in a downtown loft with a man who made me feel alive, who made me feel dangerous, who made me feel like myself. "I'm just adjusting to married life," I said, cutting my steak with more force than necessary. "Maybe we should talk to someone, a counselor." "I don't need a counselor, Richard. I need—" "What? What do you need?" I looked at him across the table. Good, kind, boring, everything a husband should be. "Nothing," I said. "I don't need anything." But that was a lie. I needed Jake. Needed the way he looked at me like I was the most fascinating woman in the world. Needed the way he challenged me. Needed the way he made me feel like I was living instead of just existing. My phone buzzed. A text. "Thinking about you, especially about 2 months ago. That powder room was—" I deleted it before reading the rest, but not before Richard noticed. "Who was that?" "Just Sarah." "About the charity luncheon." Another lie. They were coming so easily now. That night, as Richard slept beside me in our king-sized bed with the Egyptian cotton sheets and the view of Central Park, I stared at the ceiling and thought about my wedding day. Not the ceremony, not the reception, not the dress or the flowers or the cake. I thought about 30 minutes in a powder room with a man who wasn't my husband, The best 30 minutes of my married life. My phone lit up with another text. Can't sleep either? I should have ignored it. Should have put the phone away. Should have focused on the man lying next to me. Instead, I typed back, meet me tomorrow. Usual place. Usual time. Mrs. Pemberton wants to play? Mrs. Pemberton needs to play. The next afternoon, I told Richard I was going shopping with my sister. Told my sister I was at a spa appointment. Told myself I was just going to end it once and for all. But when I saw Jake waiting for me in our usual coffee shop, wearing that same dangerous smile, I knew I wasn't ending anything. How's married life? He asked, sliding into the booth across from me. Exactly what you'd expect. And what's that? Boring. Predictable. Safe. He reached across the table and traced the outline of my wedding ring with his finger. You could change that. Could I? You could leave him. The words hung in the air between us. Tempting, impossible, dangerous. And then what? Move into your loft? Play house? Why not? Because I'm not that woman, Jake. I'm not the woman who throws away everything for love. Aren't you? He was right. I had thrown away everything, just not in the way he thought. I had thrown away my chance at a real marriage, my chance at honest love, my chance at being the woman everyone thought I was, but I hadn't thrown away my comfort, my status, my safety net. I brought you to my wedding, I said quietly. You did. I kissed you on my wedding day. You did. I betrayed my husband on the most important day of our lives. You did. And I'm not sorry, he smiled. I know. I'm not sorry because it was the only real moment in that entire day, the only moment that was actually mine. And what about now? Is this moment yours? I looked around the coffee shop, couples talking, students studying, life continuing while I sat here with my secret. This moment is mine, I said. But when I go home tonight, I'll be his wife again. I'll make dinner. We'll watch Netflix. I'll let him think he knows me. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I'll text you, and we'll do this again, and again, and again. Until I get bored, until you get bored, until one of us decides we want something real. What if I told you this was real? I'd say you're confusing real with convenient. I'm married, Jake. I'm safe. I'm unavailable. I'm the perfect affair. He leaned back in his chair. And if I wanted more, then you'd have to find another married woman to play with. It was cruel, but it was honest. More honest than I'd been with anyone in months. You really are a piece of work, aren't you? He said, but he was smiling. I'm a piece of work who brought her lover to her own wedding. What does that make you? The luckiest bastard in New York. We both laughed, because it was true, because it was ridiculous, because it was exactly what we both wanted. That night I went home to Richard, made his favorite pasta, listened to him talk about his day, let him think everything was normal. I love you, he said as we got ready for bed. I love you too, I replied. And maybe I did, in a safe, comfortable, practical way. But love and desire are different things. Love and passion are different things. Love and feeling truly alive are very different things. Richard gave me love, but Jake gave me everything else. So yes, I brought my lover to my own wedding. Yes, we almost got caught. Yes, I betrayed my husband on the most important day of our lives. And no, I'm not sorry. Because in the end, I got everything I wanted. The wedding, the husband, the status, the life everyone expected me to have. But I also got the secret, the danger, the passion, the parts of myself I never wanted to give up. Richard calls me his wife. But Jake knows who I really am. And that's a secret I'll never share. Not even with my husband. They say you can't have it all. But I disagree. I have the perfect marriage, the perfect life, the perfect lie, and hidden underneath it all, I have the perfect affair. Some people might call me selfish, cruel, Heartless, I call myself smart, I call myself free, I call myself exactly who I've always been. The woman who brought her lover to her own wedding and got away with it. The woman who chose desire over duty and never looked back. The woman who decided that sometimes being the villain is exactly what you need to be.